Welcome to SaintsCast, a football podcast brought to you by Southam United. Join us for an in-depth look into club, league, supporters, and everything you want to know on and off the pitch. We're getting the information straight from those who know it best. This week on the podcast, we're getting right to it and sitting down with the captain himself, Brandon Hallmark. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
This episode is going to be a little bit unique in the fact that not only are you a guest this week, but going forward, you're actually going to help me co-host while we have other guests, obviously your teammates, people you know from playing at Southam on the show. And obviously also kind of unique in the fact that your family were cousins. So this is actually going to be a really fun experience to get to do together. So let's get started.
Let's go.
Today it's all about you. We're going to talk kind of through different aspects of your playing career a bit. But first, there's kind of a reason that this co-hosting setup is going to work well for you at the moment. Because you're not going to be on the pitch in the same way that I'm sure you wish you could be. Obviously, you had an injury. Tell us kind of what the last few months have looked like in regards to your knee.
So very fortunately, I was able to go private for my treatment. The NHS waiting list was about 2 to 3 years, and there was no chance I wasn't playing football for that long. So I actually picked the injury up in summer last year playing against Long Butby. The ground was a bit wet. And my knee got stuck as I turned, and I'd had this similar injury before in my right knee, so I pretty much knew exactly what it was straight away. It swelled right up, it felt really stiff, and pretty much knew what it was straight away. So I went to the doctors just to get that confirmed. They said exactly what I thought it was. It was a torn meniscus, which I'd had before in the other knee. Looked online, had it paid for, went and got it looked at, and between first appointment and operation, there was about 2 months. So that was really good. Went straight in.
Wow.
Met my surgeon and everything. He was fantastic. Had my treatment 5 days before my 24th birthday, 15th of February. It went really well. Spoke to the surgeon afterwards. He's happy with how it's gone. It's still a bit swollen. It's sore. I can't do anything yet. Just really excited to get back playing and training at least in a couple of weeks with everybody.
Yeah. Was there kind of a good timing aspect to this in the fact that obviously, you guys were playing and had your last match November 4th, and then we went back into, we had a little bit of time at Christmas, but we've pretty much been in a lockdown situation since then. Was that kind of good timing for you as far as that's
100%.
concerned?
Yeah, it's been absolutely perfect. So obviously since November 4th, I was playing probably 7 or 8 games carrying an injury, which isn't ideal. But actually since our last game, I haven't missed a single kick of football, despite having an operation, despite not doing anything for nearly 12 weeks, which is absolutely ideal. Fortunately, I'll be just as unfit as everybody else when we get back to pre-season in the summer, so hopefully I won't be too far behind everyone, even though they're going to be back training in about 10 days, so I've got a bit of catch-up to play when I'm allowed back in probably about 6 weeks' time.
Yeah. Obviously, you said that this was something that you've dealt with before on the other knee. What's the comparison? I mean, was it the same kind of, do you feel like it was the same intensity of injury and also like same recovery process?
No, I think this one's definitely worse. I actually got printed out copies of like my MRI report and everything this time, which isn't something I had access to before. There was a lot more damage in this time, a lot more cartilage that was removed, and a lot more things that had strained, and there was a bit of arthritis and things, which wasn't ideal. But I think this time I've had much more access to good physio. I've got a guy called Shiz Govind who looks after me really well. Shout out to CG Therapy Studios. And they really look after me, and I've had some really good rehab, and I think so far recovery's gone a lot faster than planned. Originally, people were saying numbers like 8 to 9 months, which horrified me.
Wow.
I think that's very quickly turning into kind of 10, 12 weeks, so that's much better and much better news for me.
Amazing. So hopefully back on the pitch really soon.
See you in the summer.
Yeah, good. As far as kind of being away from, I know you're dealing with the injury and things, but away from the pitch, kind of what else have you been up to during lockdown and kind of since November?
It's actually been a really crazy time. So lockdown's been about a year. In that space of time, me and my partner Sophie, we've bought our first house. We've done that in rugby. We're both really happy with that. We spend a lot of our time and hard-earned money doing that up. We also recently bought our little French bulldog Hugo, who is the kind of love of our life, and he's been a real perfect companion to me. I've not been able to do anything.
Yeah.
The most exercise I can do is go for a walk. So Sophie and I go and do that every evening. We take him to the park, and it's been really a big part of my rehab and keeping me sane, and that's been really great. So it's been good. Good.
All right, so let's kind of get into the football side of things. Obviously, you're at Southam now, but there's a lot of experience and a kind of a journey that happened before you got to Southam. We'll kind of talk about that a little bit, but kind of just to start it off, what's your earliest memory of playing football?
Earliest memory of playing football is when I played for a team called Bilton Ajax in rugby. I remember it because we had a really vibrant kit. It was red and white stripes. My dad, John, was always at games, took me to everything. We played in cup finals where we sprayed our hair red. It was all like, that's probably my earliest football memory. I had a blue pair of football boots that my dad never said I could have worn. He was so strict. I only ever wore black boots.
Really?
Yeah, even now you'll only really ever see me wear black boots, or if I dared to wear coloured ones, that was definitely on my own will. My dad would never have allowed that. Earliest memory definitely has to be all of us getting ready for that cup final over at Central Ajax, and we all sprayed our hair red, and we actually lost that cup final, I think, but I remember that so well. I unfortunately don't see any of those players anymore, but unbelievable first memory of football. That was good fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Why only black boots?
It's a very old-fashioned thing, I think, in the football community, kind of, especially in the UK. If you're a young player and you don't want to be all brash and show off, then you wear black boots until you've earned the right to wear funky pink and yellow boots and stuff like that.
Which a lot of, like, that's quite a thing to do now, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so after Bilton, kind of, well, how long were you there?
I was there from probably 6 to about 14 until secondary school age.
Okay.
I think that then progressed on to Rugby Town Juniors. We played on Saturdays, and that was quite a good standard in the MJPL, which is the Midland Junior Premier League. And I think it still exists. It's always been a good standard. It always taught you to kind of keep the ball on the deck, play attractive football. It's all about passing and moving, and that's probably where I learned a lot about how I play as a centre back now. A guy called Simon Williams was a really good manager. Again, Dad was always a big part of that. He was always at games, always the loudest voice on the touchline, screaming and shouting at me, telling me what to do. But that came after Bilton, and then the natural progression for that was the Rugby Town youth team, and that was when I probably started properly making my kind of trade as a centre-back. Really enjoyed it there. Again, it was all about playing a good, attractive football against kind of semi-academy sides, and that was really good fun.
Did you kind of, so I know that at that point, just kind of from conversations that we've had, you had some trials with other clubs. Kind of, was there a lot of hype around that? Did you feel that, or was that kind of an exciting time? Or is there kind of a lot of pressure on young footballers when it comes to that level of those types of experiences?
I think there's more pressure in keeping it quiet. So I think the excitement was very much kept within the household. Me and Dad were really excited about it. But obviously you worry about jinxing things, you worry about people hearing and potentially ruining it for you and getting in your head, making comments you don't want to hear. At the time, I was having trials with teams like Leicester, West Ham were interested. It was really, really exciting. But I think coming from the background that I had, Dad always made sure that I was unbelievably grounded and nothing ever went to my head. And I think there's something like that still stands with me today. And I think that's why I'm happy playing at the standard I am. But we're always trying to push forwards. And I think that's something that's always been really part of my football career.
Yeah. At that age, and when those kind of experiences are happening, are you kind of aware of the fact that you're being watched?
Yeah, I think naturally when you're put in a trial kind of like situation, you very much feel in a goldfish bowl. You very much are on display. It's an exhibition of football and what you're about. And ultimately, you're not there to make friends, but at the same time, you've got to produce a really good game of football with 10 other players that you've never met before. And that is actually a wicked thing to be a part of. You get to play at some really cool grounds. We played at the King Power. That was really good fun. Definitely the best pitch you ever played on. Yeah. And, it's a really good experience. And obviously it didn't pay off for me, but 100% it's something that you learn so much from in terms of being grounded and, realising that you're not the best footballer in the world. And that rejection is good for you, I think, in the end.
And was that kind of the point where you realised that like football was going to be it, like that's what you wanted to push for? That was something that was going to be a part of your life for a long time? Yeah,
I think that was very much part of me since I was playing football at 7, 8 years old. Football
so even earlier on, you kind of
100%.
realised. Yeah.
I lived and dreamed it. I didn't drink alcohol until I was 18. I wasn't big on house parties because I went to bed early and I knew my dad would batter me if I went out. No, he didn't really. But my upbringing was quite strict. Football was very much priority one, and I very much took it that way. If I wasn't playing football, I was out running, staying fit. I didn't go to the gym till quite late on, but I wish I had. I was very skinny as a teenager. I'm not anymore.
Do you think that had some effect on kind of where your footballing career went? Because I've heard, that is something that is absolutely looked at, and it's quite important for you to, because especially in your position, size is quite a big part of it.
I think in the modern age, they very much look for athletes and then to make them into footballers. But I wasn't blessed with a very strong build. I was really skinny as a teenager, and I was a bit of a late bloomer in terms of kind of adult development. So that didn't help me, and certainly led to a few doctor's appointments to make sure I wasn't too far behind. I'm now blessed with a big ginger beard and a belly of a dad with 3 kids. But
so it's all come in, is what you're saying.
It's all arrived eventually, but I was certainly a bit tall and gangly at 15, 16, which wasn't the most helpful thing ever. And I was never particularly blessed with pace, but luckily I've always had a kind of an ability to read the game, and that's always helped me out. I think that's ultimately led to my captaincies.
Wow. So from that point, is that when you went to Wellingborough?
Let me think.
Or was there...
So that comes after Rugby Town Youth. So Wellingborough Whitworths, who play in the UCL. That all came as a result of basically a rejection from West Ham. So they had a man called Ian Archer, who was absolutely massive in my kind of adult football life, still is. They had a contact. He was working for a team called Norwich at the time, but he also oversaw Wellingborough over in Northampton. And I played for their under-18s team and also their men's team, which was a really good experience. The youth side was probably the most successful football team I've ever been part of, and it was an awesome experience. We won the league and what's called the Champions Final all in the same year. So that's when you win the league and you play the winners of the league of the Eastern Division. And we won that in what is probably the best game of football I've ever played in. Other people say the same. It still gets talked about today. Played with probably one of the best strikers I've ever met, in a guy called Taylor Oroz, unbelievably fast, really, really good player. Very much like Levi, who plays for us now, actually. They're very similar players, but unbelievable experience, unbelievable team, and days that I look back on really fondly.
Amazing. And then from that point, you kind of, that's when you went to county?
Yeah, well, that kind of happens at the same time.
Okay.
So a county representation team is kind of, it's a basket, I suppose, of handpicked good players from across Northamptonshire County, who obviously I had to play for because that's where Wellingborough is based.
Okay.
Not from Northamptonshire, but you're still allowed to play with them if you're affiliated with a team.
Okay.
So they picked a lot of our team was from the Whitworth side because we were dominating the league. There was a few lads, for example, Danny Powell, who played for Buckbrook. He's an awesome mate of mine still. He played for us, and we had an absolute beast of a team, but the fixtures are really rare. You probably only play 3 or 4 times a year, but that really gives you a taste of professional football. You arrive on, and you have to wear a suit that they give you, and you get on a coach, and it's really cool. Everything you get there, like the physios, even things like warm-up gear you get. It really gave you a taste of professional football. You only play at cool, like really good grounds, really good pitches, really good experience to be part of. I really enjoyed it.
That must be a huge kind of learning experience for someone at that age who knows that football is that's what they want to do. That must be, that kind of professionalism must be huge.
Yeah, I think it's important as well because it's really easy to get sucked into the world of being a joker at football and being a clown and turning up and messing around. But that really teaches you that actually sometimes you need to be disciplined as well. And for people to take you seriously, you need to act seriously as well. So we did turn up in our nice suits. We did finish mucking about when we got off the bus on the way to games. And you know what, that teaches you something that I don't think ever leaves you. And I think that kind of professionalism is something that we're trying to get in at Southam at the same time as having a great crack and a great social. Can we take professionalism for people in high leagues to actually start taking it seriously and realise who we are and what we're about?
Yeah. That's a huge part of it, isn't it? I mean, it's such a, there's so many things you can do as a team to just, no matter what budgets are, no matter, where players are at in their careers, things like that, where you play maybe, the fact if you can, put that professionalism up multiple levels, that's just something that you can do no matter what other factors that you're dealing with. And it can, I'm sure that makes you kind of hold yourself different on the pitch, and I'm sure it makes supporters look, at the club differently. Yeah.
100%.
So around that time, you also had, I know you haven't had too many injuries, and in the discussions that we've had, you said, you've been pretty lucky. I know you're dealing with one now, but kind of back at that time that you're talking about, around 15 years old, you had a pretty big injury. Tell me about that.
So I had a tibia fracture at the very bottom of my right leg.
And this happened while you were playing?
Yeah, this happened during a game. I was playing left back for Rugby Town, and the guy who did it actually told me about 5 minutes before that he was going to do it to me. He said, "I'm going to break your effing legs."
No way.
Yeah. So that went down really well as a 15-year-old. It's probably, looking back, probably the peak of my playing football. I was probably the best I ever have been at probably 15, 16. It couldn't probably have come at a worse time. I don't think it's the reason I haven't gone any further. I think that's genuinely just because I'm not good enough, and I'm absolutely fine to admit that. But it came at a really bad time. It was a really bad break. They actually said because the ground was so boggy that I had to get air ambulance down. So the helicopter came to get me. They later said that if I was to travel by land ambulance, that it could have internally dislodged my foot from my ankle, which wouldn't have been fun.
Oh my goodness.
So now I have 2 screws still in my leg just to remind me, and a big scar, as a reminder to not put the ball through wingers' legs and laugh at them. So there's that. But I'm really fortunate. I had a really supportive fan base around me. I'm very fortunate to have 2 dads that really care a lot about me, conveniently both called John. So shout out to them. Mum was always there as well for me. But yeah, my dad's always played a massive part in always maintaining a positive mindset and to not sit and mope around and to actually just make the most of a bad situation, get on with it.
Because at that age, that must be, obviously it's a physical injury, but at that age specifically, when you're kind of at the point that you're at and you're having interest and clubs are talking to you, that must have been such a mental injury as well.
I think it was, but it was something that I buried and something that I'm quite fortunate to be good at doing. If things do get quite stressful for me and things do get difficult, I do bury them quite well. It came at a really tough time because it was actually probably about 2 months before I sat my GCSE exams. I remember quite well sitting pretty much all of my GCSEs in tracksuits and on crutches with a big cast on, right in the winter, freezing cold, which wasn't helpful. But it was good. It was mental and something I haven't really reflected on, something that I've never really brought up, but something I just reflect on as part of my career. It's just what happened.
So you don't have any lingering issues from that? Yeah.
Other than when it's really cold, the screws get cold.
Really?
Yeah, that's not comfortable.
That must feel strange.
It's just like a dull ache, but it's not the end of the world. It doesn't affect how I play. It doesn't affect how I run.
Were you walking pretty soon after that? Were you in a plaster for a really long time, or because you had surgery, it wasn't so long? Because when I was younger, I was skateboarding and broke my leg, tibia and
fibula. Yeah,
both of them at the same time. I was in a plaster from January until June, and it took forever. But I didn't have surgery, so were you able to kind of get up from that a bit quicker?
I was in the cast for about 8 weeks, maybe 10 weeks. I got it off the day before my birthday, and I think I did the injury at the start of January. So that's
still a long time. 8 weeks is still quite a while. Yeah. So you're good on crutches then.
Yeah,
you know your way around a pair of crutches.
I soon get rid of them every time though because they write your hands off.
Yeah, they're terrible. And I found under my arms, I'll get.
We don't have those ones here. Remember? Okay. I was going over the elbows. Okay.
Yeah,
they're old school.
Okay. So I want to talk about because you've had quite a bit of success as far as in your youth career, won some trophies and things like that. Do you have matches that you still think about? Because I know you said that one match was kind of
final,
that was the best one. Do you still have matches that you look back and they still kind of give you goosebumps, or those were the good moments? That was a good time.
I think that game sticks in the mind because we had absolutely no right to win it. We were 2-0 down at half time, and with about probably 3 minutes to go, we were still drawing 2-2. So we brought it back, and we just did not look like winning the game. We didn't look like scoring. To say we didn't deserve to win it would be an understatement. We were probably getting battered at the time. I can't really remember because it was all a bit of an experience, to be honest. But it was so good. My dad talks about it now, and every time I speak to Ian Archer over in Northampton, he talks about it. It was just such a big game. There were loads of fans there. It's probably one of the most attended games I've ever played at. And it was just such a good atmosphere, such a good game. And for that reason, I think I'll always remember it. It was also a really random game that I remember playing as about 14, 15-year-old over in one of the Bedworth Oval finals that we played at as Rugby Town Juniors, where we were playing a team called St Nicholas Colts, and they were probably one of the most angry, violent, disgusting football teams I've probably ever met. Oh, no. And there was a bit of a brawl on the pitch, and that was good fun.
This was the same match?
Yeah, no, this is a different match.
Oh, okay.
So this was over at the Bedworth Oval over in Nuneaton, and it was a horrendous game of football. Another one that we lost. I think we played about 5 finals at the Bedworth Oval and never won one. Oh, no. So it's a bit of a cursed place for me. I hope we don't play there soon.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's kind of talk a little bit about, because I know that this is something that has been part of your career a lot and obviously still is, but let's talk about kind of captaincy and leadership and things like that. of those teams that you played for, how many of them were you captain?
So first ever club I captained was Bilton Ajax as a kid.
Okay.
That was fun. Didn't really mean much at the time. I think they just have to give the armband to somebody just to do kick off.
Yeah.
That was cool. There's photos of that still there, cute. I look a lot different back then. I was captain of... I wasn't captain of Rugby Town Youth. I was of the juniors. I was captain of the youth team up at Butlin Road. That was a really cool experience. I was captain of the Whitworth under-18 team that won that cup final. And I was captain of Northamptonshire County, as well as now at Southam.
Wow. So where do you think, because obviously you're selected for a reason, what do you think those reasons are? Like why do you think that has been part of, your career thus far at a lot of different teams, obviously? So there's a lot of, obviously, multiple people who think that that's the position that you should be in. Well, kind of where do you think those qualities come from, and what do you think they are?
I think, funnily, a lot of the reasons why I've been asked to be captain of some of these teams is not an awful lot to do with my ability to play football. I think it's a lot more to do with how I manage people, how I communicate with people, and actually how I can manage to bring a team together, both on and off a football pitch. And I've always been very fortunate that people around me have seen that, spotted that, and helped me grow as a player myself. And I think that's probably why I'm still given positions like that now.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there players that you've watched, or maybe managers that you've played for, or players that you have played with that kind of are examples of the type of leader that you want to be, or kind of maybe that's what's built that in you?
Yeah, I mean, I used to I played with only once, but I used to absolutely idolise him in training. A guy called Robbie Banks, who's still a massive football coach locally. He's an awesome leader, just a really good bloke. And I think I always wanted to be a little bit like that. But 99% of the credit of how I've turned out as a footballer has to go to my dad, Jono. He honestly taught me everything I know about how to play football. Taught me that football is much more than what's in your feet. It's what's in your head and how you communicate with people. And I think 99% of my game and role as a captain on the football pitch is communicating with people. A team like Southam, where we don't have to do loads of defending. I don't touch the ball lots other than when I'm heading it away and kicking it away. But I think I was always a loud footballer. And I think that was something that was always bred into me, because my pace was never going to get me noticed. I've never been the most technical footballer in the world, although I'm not useless on football. My voice was always the thing that got me noticed, and I think that was why I've always had the armband, to be honest.
Yeah. So obviously, being a leader, being a captain on the field, you're kind of, captain week in, week out. How important do you think consistency is, specifically your consistency of how you're playing, how you're, the level that you're at for each match, kind of the hype that you have going into all those kind of different factors? How important do you think that consistency is for everybody who's kind of the players watching you on the pitch?
I mean, I think because of the level we play at, it's not the highest level ever. I think I can get away with probably not being a perfect captain, which I'm certainly not. But it definitely, if you're different people on the pitch, your players don't know what to get from you. So I certainly have to show a level of consistency. If lads need to talk to me about anything, we live in an age now where there's more to life than football. Mental health, something that's always talked about. It's something I want to affiliate with the football club, definitely. I do want to be in a position where I feel like all the lads can talk to me. Now, if I'm acting like a clown and I'm inapproachable and people don't feel like they can talk to me about football, about life, or anything, that's something that I'm concerned about if they're not in a position where they can do that. But on a personal level, I'm only 24 years old and I'm definitely still learning. I'm definitely still a young captain, and I'm constantly picking up parts of trades and parts of things that I want in my game. And I definitely learn about things that actually I want to get rid of. I'm far too verbally aggressive on a football pitch towards officials, towards my own teammates a lot of time. Me and Kyle fall out in training every week. But actually, he's one hell of a player and he knows that I think that of him. And maybe praising my players is definitely something that needs to improve in my game, definitely.
So you kind of referred to, the way you are on the pitch, kind of that, a little bit of that aggression. Do you think that's kind of like, do you think that's an important part of leadership? Like kind of setting that level for the team when you go out and just saying like, hey, we're going to play this way, and I'm going to show it? Yeah,
I think the position we're in at Southam, we've very much got a target on our backs. We're very much the team to chase, and we very much end up in a corner. So if I go out there and I'm up for it and I'm 100%, I would very much hope that the team mirror that, and I'm very fortunate to be part of a team that do give 100%, and we are a team that graft. We don't think that we're going to breeze games, And given the nature of the league and the fact that every team wants to come to Southam and beat us, if I come and I'm winning every header and I'm clearing balls and I'm making big tackles, it is a contagion. It does run through the team, and I think that's something that's really important. And that starts from the second we go out and have a look at the pitch when we get there at 7, and absolutely continues when the kickoff. And that's something that I really want to be part of Southam, and something that goes forward without it obviously becoming mouthy towards referees and stuff.
Sure. And I think probably a lot of that physicality also comes from the position that you play.
100%, yeah. So as a defender, if you're not authoritative, if you're not putting your stamp on the game in your way, that team's going to feel like they can get one over you and score. And I know me and Coxie both feel this way. We take it personally if someone shoots at our goal. If someone scores at us, we are taking that personally. We're not happy about it. We kick and scream about it. We shout at each other. Coxie's probably replaced the goalposts at Southam about 6 times because he boots them every time someone scores. But yeah, if you don't have that aggression, almost in my opinion, you don't care. And absolutely, in my perspective, I'm only like that because that 90 minutes is what I get up for that week. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm here for.
Absolutely. Speaking of the position, obviously you play in defense right now. Have you always been a defensive player?
Apparently, no. I don't remember this, but apparently when I played for Ajax as a young kid, I played left wing, which having looked at me now is absolutely absurd because I'm not very fast. But as a kid, I was probably a bit more sprightly, a bit nimbler and a bit quicker. But I was blessed to be left-footed, and that is still something that I'm grateful to be. Yeah. I am very much a both-footed player, but I would never take a penalty with my right foot, so I'd call myself left-footed.
Yeah.
But I always kind of wanted to be the hero, I think. So naturally, I gravitated back and back towards defence. My dad was a goalkeeper, never really fancied that, although I am our second keeper at Southam. I like being the hero. I like making the big tackles and the headers and stuff. So that's why I ended up at centre-back.
So if something happened, if there was, a red card or an injury, like you would go
Yeah, that's
goal?
my shirt. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. Wow. I've never had to do it. We do it in training, little practices every now and then, but hopefully Coxie keeps his head and stays in there because he's one hell of a goalie.
Very interesting. Something that I want to just go back to, we're going to talk about Southam in a minute, but something I want to go back to really quick is that you spent some time in China, which sounds to me like such a cool experience. Yeah, how did that happen? Like what was that experience like and how did it happen?
So I did a football scholarship, apprenticeship type thing with Kettering Town when I left sixth form. And that was effectively like a coaching course alongside you play football on a Wednesday afternoon and stuff. You play football every day. And that was a really cool experience. And they eventually partnered with a project that still runs today called Future Lions, which was a football software that created training sessions for any standard of football coach that they could just deliver. And that was a really cool thing that they wanted me to be a part of. So they sent us over to a place called Shantou in the southeast of China. It was really good fun. I was there for a couple of months. With a couple of lads from the football club and also a man called Wayne Goss. Wayne Goss, who I then didn't talk to for about 2 years, rang me on a whim and said, I'm now the director of football at Southam United. I'd like to come over and have a look. So that's basically how I got involved with Southam. Wayne was a really good bloke and someone that I befriended with a lot while we were working in China and at Kettering, very respectable pillar of the football community in Oxfordshire still. Good bloke. And I trusted him enough, and over we went. It was good. China was the most random place ever, though. The food was horrendous.
I was going to ask about the food, because I always hear that.
Just got the impression that it hadn't been dead for very long. I wasn't a fan of that, but the kind of nightclub scene was unbelievable. Even though we were absolute nobodies, we were treated like professionals. We went to a game and we were signing autographs, which was absolutely absurd for me. I don't know. I think that was just because we were the first European people they'd ever met. And it was just the strangest experience. But it's something I remember really well. It's cool, and it definitely just looks good on the CV.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, that's a pretty good segue then into let's discuss Southam now. Obviously, the reason that we're here, and a big part of what you're doing at the moment. You said it was Wayne Goss who had you come over and look, and obviously you liked something. So tell us about that process of checking out the club and realizing that was somewhere that you wanted to be.
Yeah, I think when I talk about Bobby Hancock's Park at Southam, I think everybody that's been there would join me in saying that it's one hell of a facility to look at and be in, especially for the standard of football that we're playing, and it's somewhere that deserves to be so much higher at the football pyramid than we are. Turn up, the floodlights are on, the change rooms are awesome. That's where I sat down and met with Rich, who seemed like he had really, really good ideas for the football club. I liked his footballing mentality. I liked what his football brain was like and what kind of football he wanted to play. It suited me as a player. And to be honest, I have a lot to thank him for, because he'd never even seen me play before he made me captain of his football club, which is either off a really good recommendation from Wayne or is somehow found me on YouTube. But either way, from word go, really, that was my plan. As soon as I met Rich and as soon as I met Southam, and actually as soon as I started the training sessions and met the lads, they were awesome, really easy to get to know. And I think that's massively important in non-league football. I've had a lot of experiences where actually going to a new club can be really difficult and it can be really cliquey, and people can be really prickly and not very easy to get on with. But I think one thing that all of us players had in common coming to Southam is that we were all new. So the club was absolutely, there was a bit of a renaissance at Southam. The old team went bust, so it was kind of reborn from the ashes, if you like, a bit like a phoenix. And yeah, we were all new to the team. We all had something in common, and that was we all wanted a bit of a fresh start in football, I think. And that, I still think, brings us together today. We're a very close-knit team, although there probably are friendship circles as you get anywhere. But we are a very close team. I'd like to think we'd do anything for each other. I think that comes from the fact that we've all gone to Southam for a bit of a fresh start and a bit of a second chance in football. And I think that there's something really nice about that.
I think that's something kind of unique to non-league football in general, because you've got a lot of people who are at different stages of their career, but that is kind of one of the underlying themes, is that we're all here for a reason and we're all choosing to be here. And it sounds like that's what you encountered at Southam. Yeah,
great. Absolutely. Like, we've got players that are nearing the end of their career at kind of 29, 30, and we've got players, and a lot of them, that are kind of 16, 17, very much at the start. And I lie somewhere in the middle of that, and I think that's another thing that's made me quite a good kind of captain, because I've had a bit of both. I'm not young, but I'm not old, but I've had a lot of experience despite my years. So I think that's another reason why they've put me in that role. And I think we're very lucky to have a really good balance of people that ultimately all come from really hard-working backgrounds and really different backgrounds. And together, that makes a really good kind of formidable team.
Because you have to with non-league football. I mean, it's a commitment, isn't it? And I think there's a lot of underestimating kind of what non-league football is, in the sense that obviously you've all got full-time jobs and you've got a lot of commitments, and then you've got football as well, and trying to make it as professional as you can and win, obviously.
Well, I feel sorry for anybody in management when they've got people turning up late, because Tom Harris, for example, might be late because he's over in Warwickshire somewhere cutting trees down and he can't make the game, and then he turns up and he's shattered. And it's something that you always have to be on the ball in non-league. There's no organisation really. As much as you want to trial and practice everything, you're never going to get it perfect. And I think that's something that gives non-league football such character, and why it does have such a massive fan base, and a massive reason why we're trying to make Southam much more on the map, much more of a team, much more of a thing. Because actually we are just normal people. We do have 9 to 5s. We don't think we're anything special, but I tell you what, we don't have to care about playing football. And I think that's what people should come and see, and what they want to see from a ground that deserves players like us.
Yeah, absolutely. How long have you been at Southam now?
Well, we obviously had the first season that very nearly didn't finish. That only just didn't finish because of Corona.
Yeah.
So that would have been season 18 to 19.
Okay.
So that would have been the start of that season. So
kind of what's the feeling at the club now compared to when you started? Is it kind of we've all got the same aims, or have things developed since then?
I think one word comes to mind, and I think everybody would agree with this, and that's promotion. We obviously won the league massively, even though it's null and voided. We won by so many points. I think we only lost once against Easington, and that's something that has not sat well with the players. There's a lot of frustration, I think, and underlying things that have been going on in the background of the football club that we won't mention. But obviously with Charles Hill no longer being chairman, that should make a lot of people want to come watch Southam. I know that he didn't please a lot of people, but we always wanted to know as players, and wanted people in Southam to know that we were very much detached from that. We are very much people that just want to play for Southam and enjoy it and actually take the club somewhere. So make sure people know that, please, and come to watch us, because we do need your support. But everyone is so excited, I think, to get back. Corona aside, everyone just wants to play football. That's why we all do it. And it's been so long since we've seen each other and been able to do that, that I think the feel around the camp would just be so much better when we're just allowed to just do it, and get promotions that actually we do deserve as a football club.
Yeah. I imagine, like you said, there must be a lot of frustration because of those 2 seasons and how it's kind of ended the way it has. There's got to be also a feeling of like well, we've done this now. So when we're given the chance again, we know that we can do it.
There is that. And there's risk of complacency. And there's also a risk that other teams now know what we're about. So first year was a surprise because they didn't know any of us. Now it's given teams a year or two to figure us out. And that's kind of our detriment, but it is what it is. I think we've got the staff and the players to overcome that. And I think in the end it'll come through and we'll get the promotions that we deserve.
Yeah. Speaking of staff and the players, you know, I've been around the players a bit. I've been able to do a bit of filming and kind of taking some pictures and things like that. Seems like you got a pretty good squad there. Like, what's the locker room like? You know, is it just crazy all the times, or is it pretty laid back?
I think I said to you earlier, our change room is the weirdest place ever. So there's always the same people that arrive first. It's always me, Ben, Coxie, Levi, and Ethan, or Ellis, or whatever. And so the speaker goes on straight away. The music's the loudest thing ever. Change rooms, we like it to be bouncing, we like it to be energetic, we like it to be exciting. You've got 4 or 5 of us that will happily listen to that, throw sliders at each other and whatnot, spray deep heat and kind of take the mick out of each other for a couple of hours, which is good fun. And then we've got another half of our team that are probably a bit more quiet, a bit more subdued and want to focus before a game, so that's cool. We've got a really nice divide like that. But I think, like I mentioned earlier, about wanting our mentality to be a kind of open change room, nobody needs to feel like they need to kind of conform to anything. We don't make anyone join in anything, although it is something I want to improve in the team. But we do have a bit of a diverse change room. We've got people from all different backgrounds, different confidence levels, etc. So you've got to cater for everybody. But we do have the speaker on. It's blurting out all sorts of awful tunes that either Chiddy's produced or something Levi's playing. But it's good fun. Our change room is a nice place to be. You've got someone with the therapy gun out that doesn't know what they're massaging and doesn't know why something hurts. Stinks of deep heat and sweat, people fighting. It's just a horrendous place to be, but it's good crack. And actually, I almost think I miss the change room and the banter side of football more than actually playing itself. It's been something that everybody's missed. Everybody hails WhatsApp group chats for us all being able to stay together and have that crack outside of football, because without that, you're not a team, you're just a group of lads.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's this way in the locker room, but something I've noticed coming to Southam, and I've watched a few matches now and I've been, you know, at the ground and everything. It is such a family experience. I mean, you know, if you're part of the team, somebody that you know or you're related to is also a part of the team doing something behind the scenes or helping out on game day. That's got to be a lot of motivation for you as well, knowing that you've got people there who are a part of this as well. It's not just you.
100%. Like and that's not something that just happens at Southam. That's very much a theme of non-league, because no one can employ anyone to do anything. So you do look to people closest to you. All of our girlfriends work behind the bar. They're always selling stuff, and they do it for free. They do it and they give it their time, and it's something that we are massively grateful for, and it doesn't go unnoticed. Our club secretary is Ash's missus. Like, Tyler's great. She does all of the paperwork. She does everything that we need. Obviously, what you don't see though is the people's families that don't come to football, the families that have to look after the kids of us while we're playing at football, and they do get unnoticed until we have an awards night where we all get to thank them and all that kind of cliche stuff. But it is worth taking time just to thank people that you don't see at football, and actually some of us never met. Poor Rich's wife either is the happiest woman or the saddest, because he's never at home. Poor Lindsay, I've never even met her. Nobody has. She might not even exist, Rich. But poor bloke, he's never there. So there must be a massive sacrifice, not just for me, but for a lot of players that don't spend much time at home with their young ones, which is quite sad. We've got a few babies in the team now as well, so they all need looking after.
Yeah. I think that's so cool, and I think that's a great part of your team and non-league football in general, like you were saying. Kind of last to round out the section about Southam here, but I think very important is, what are the goals? What's the way forward? You know, what is the club aiming for? I'm not maybe not talking this season, or you know, maybe mention that, because that's important too. But 5-10 years down the road, where's this club going to be? Where does this club want to be?
I don't think there's ever been a set goal or kind of a 5-year plan for the club, but I think it would be remiss to say that we weren't seeking for promotion after promotion. I think that's the goal, is to kind of be a step 4, step 5 football club, and to play at good grounds and to play in front of good crowds, and grow our things like this, grow our social media, just grow who we are, put Southam on the map, and actually get the people of Southam back watching football. We don't get loads of fans in because of the relationship with the club, because it's been rocky in the past. Things are on the up. The mood is certainly happier. The mood is certainly better, and I'm hoping, and I think it will, I think that will reflect in our football.
Yeah. I mean, being involved in the way that I am, which, you know, little as it is, but just from what I've seen, I think that there is a lot of that. There's a lot of, you know, we're aiming high and we're going to get there, which I think is very exciting.
Yeah, I think when you look at the club and you look at the facilities and you look even at the players' mentality and staff and everything like that, the one word that comes to mind is just potential. Like the club oozes potential. It has the facilities to go that so much higher, and we just want people to see that, come and watch us, and just enjoy what we've got to offer.
Absolutely. All right, we're gonna move into. We're just gonna do a fun little quick fire round. I'm just gonna ask you some questions, kind of the first thing that comes to mind. But we do have Sophie here, so if I don't believe one of your answers, I will be referring to her.
Okay.
All right, here we go. If you're not at work or on the pitch, what are you doing?
Walking the dog or asking for back tickles.
Okay. What is your most used emoji?
Probably, you know, the weird emoji face that's kind of like got a wobbly mouth.
Yeah, like.
We're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's normally at Ben Tennant.
That's a good one. Who controls the music in the locker room?
It's very much a mixture. It depends who gets first, who kind of arrives first. But it's normally either Ben, Levi, me, sometimes Coxie, but Coxie gets a bit weird. So he gets shut off pretty quick because he's into kind of weird indie bands, which don't get you into football.
Okay. So moral of the story, get there first.
Correct.
And you get your music. Okay. You can only have one meal every day for the rest of your life. What would it be?
Cereal.
Cereal?
Yeah, 100%.
That's pretty easy
I
then.
live off Cocoa Pops. I think I read in a Match magazine when I was about 12 that my favourite footballer at that time, Stuart Downing, always ate Cocoa Pops before a game.
Amazing.
And I think since then it's kind of lived rent-free in my head. And I eat Cocoa Pops all the time. Sophie gets me them from Costco in big boxes.
Amazing. Costco. So good. If you could sit down and interview one player or one manager, past, present, who would it be?
Such a good question, but I think someone that was an enormous personality on and off the football pitch was George Best. Didn't even play really while I was growing up watching football. He was long gone before then, but just seeing highlights of him on the pitch and how he embraced playing football on horrendous surfaces and got absolute lumps kicked out of him was a phenomenal footballer and an amazing personality off a football pitch. I think he's someone that I view as one of the best players ever on and off a football pitch. I think he was great.
That's a great answer. It would be, yeah, you could definitely ask him some questions and learn something, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
What job would you be terrible at?
Oh, God. Probably law, being a lawyer or something. I'm not a great arguer. Quite an agreeable person. Quite happy to say sorry even if I'm not.
Oh, that's good. That's a good quality to have.
Other than maybe when we play football, I'm right and you're wrong and that's it.
Okay, fair. All right. What habit would Sophie say is your worst?
I bite my nails horrendously. I'm quite a nervous person. In terms of personal habits, that's kind of definitely worse. Probably weeing on the toilet seat is too.
Yeah, nodding as well, yeah. I feel like that's every guy, though. We're always going to complain about that.
It's out there
now. Okay, so here you have to choose one. Explore the oceans, go to outer space, or visit 50 different countries.
Easily visit outer space.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
It doesn't freak you out?
No, I think the new kind of images that are coming out of the Earth in its entirety are some of the coolest photos I've ever seen, and I would just love to see that. And one thing I can't get my head around is that we can send video sound footage from Mars, but I can't get a signal in Tesco.
Yeah.
Explain.
It's true. I completely agree. Top 3 favorite movies.
Shawshank Redemption, Step Brothers, and all of the Harry Potters.
I was going to say, I know you've been watching that. What's your favorite Harry Potter movie?
I'm a big fan of all of them past Goblet of Fire, including, but I really like Deathly Hallows Part 1.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite as well.
Guilty pleasure of mine, for sure.
So, building off of that, who's worse, Voldemort or Umbridge?
Oh, Umbridge, 100%. Yeah.
I completely agree.
Voldemort sticks to his morals.
Yeah.
You know, he knows what he's after and he goes get it. And I've got a lot of time for that. But Umbridge is there just to make people's lives a bit uncomfortable and she's not very nice.
I completely agree. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Okay.
Mocha, though, I'm a bit soft. I don't drink straight coffee.
Okay. Do you do iced coffee? I feel like that's not such a big thing.
Frappuccinos. When they did them at McDonald's was a thing, but I think they stopped.
Okay. Who's the best dancer in the squad?
we've seen some serious shapes in Leamington. I think Ben's definitely up there. So's Kyle. Kyle likes to take his top off though, which is weird.
Okay.
Pat just gets real funky, but I think Chiddy's got the best rhythm.
Okay.
He brings some real rhythm to the squad.
You're not up there? You haven't mentioned yourself?
Not.
Okay.
I'm a dad dancer without kids.
Good to know. Last one. I think this is a good one. I'm interested. You're in a bind. Who from the team do you call?
What's that? What's a bind?
Like, well, it could be a multiple different things, but like either I'm thinking you've ended up in jail somehow and you have to call someone to come and get you out or like prove to them that you're innocent.
This question
or something.
is so easy to answer.
Yeah? Okay, go for it then.
This is my vice captain, and what a bloke this guy is. Ben Tennant is one of the best blokes I've probably ever met, but also one of the dodgiest people on the planet.
So he's maybe not helping you get out in the conventional sense, but he's maybe breaking you out.
He
is
would
maybe
either
what you're
break
saying.
me out or know someone that could get me out.
Because I know you've been watching a lot of Prison Break, so you've got ideas, I'm sure.
Yeah, 100%. He's the brawn, and I would say on the brains, but that's probably a bit modded, but kind of not a bit vain. But Ben's great. I think he'd do anything for anybody, and I think if you rang him at 3 a.m, he'd answer because he'd probably be awake, definitely be out. So if you needed anything, he'd be definitely at the top of the list for people to come and save my life.
Okay, good to know.
Behind Sophie, hopefully.
Well, yeah.
But she doesn't play for us. So.
No. She's sleeping. 3 a.m. Well, maybe she's not. I don't know. The dog keeps us awake.
True.
Okay, well that's everything we have. I know that you wanted to say something to the supporters who are going to be listening to this and kind of watching the team and well, not being able to watch the team initially, but there will be a time when finally fans are allowed back in the stadium. What do you want to say to them in preparation kind of for that?
Just want to say, as a team of players, we cannot wait to see everybody. We can't wait to be playing in front of you all again. I know that we're not allowed to straight away, but all of us feel the same. We all love you to bits. We all love you being there, and we all really value your time and what you do for our football club. But for people that haven't come to watch us yet, we plead that you do. We plead that you come and watch us and see what we're about. Get to know us. We'll happily stop and talk to you and stuff. We are just very normal people that just want to play good football at a good ground. Thank you to everybody that's seen past the club struggles and put in the time to still support us. Thank you to the entire Champkins family and everybody else that's just spent so much time in our football club, helping out, making things work and making it who we are today. And I'm really looking forward to, as a captain and as part of this football team, seeing it grow and it becoming a real project that actually we can look back on and going, we did that, we invested our time in that. And I'm really looking forward to sharing that journey with you guys.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, Brandon, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down, have a chat, really share a lot of great information about yourself, about the club. I know you're probably dying to get back out there and see the guys and get training started, and then hopefully very soon be getting involved and back out on the pitch yourself. So Thank you.
Thank you.
And for everyone else, thank you so much for listening to our podcast. Don't forget, for more episodes, announcements, great videos, content, make sure you follow us on all of our social media. We're on Facebook, on our supporters page. We're on Instagram. It's at Southam United. We're going to be on YouTube as well. TikTok, we're kind of all over the place. So wherever you get your social at, we'll be there. And also wherever you get your podcasts at, look out for more episodes. So we will see you next time. Thanks for listening.